Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Communities Live here on Sheffield Live 93.2 FM. Chris and Ellie here, and we have a film director and producer of The Walk here, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jobling. Good afternoon.
Hiya, thanks so much for having me on board. Thank you.
So, for our listeners, give us a bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a film director and writer. Although the film that I'm talking about today, I only directed. I didn't write or produce this one.
Right.
But yeah, I've been a director for about over 10 years now. I first started making films pretty much at school when I was doing my GCSEs, and then that kind of put me on to going to university for it and just sort of experimenting and trying as many different things as possible, really. And then that's kind of turned into me directing short films and music videos and commercials and stuff like that. Yeah.
And as a director, who influenced you? What was your biggest influences?
Well, lots of people really. I think filmmakers like Paul Thomas Anderson and Martin Scorsese were big influences for me. I think they really spoke to me, even though they were making films about set in places and times that I had no sort of connection with. They felt very sort of universal and human and stuff like that. And then I think from there I kind of like discovered a bit more sort of European filmmaking as well, from the sort of 60s onwards. I think, yeah, so people like that really.
And we mentioned a few influences, but if there was anybody that you could work with, actor or director, who would it be and why?
Well, I actually, for this film, The Walk, I actually had the pleasure of working with one of my favorite actors, Adil Akhtar, who, he's been in big films such as Four Lions. He was in the series Utopia. And then he's just recently won a BAFTA for his performance in Sherwood, which is the Nottingham set sort of serial killer show. But he's been one of my favorites for a long time, ever since I was like a teenager. And so when he came on board and wanting to work with us, I think it was really exciting, and I felt very lucky to be working with him. So yeah, I've kind of, to answer your question, I've kind of already worked with one of the people I've most likely worked with.
A lot of people are not that lucky at the moment yet, but
I know.
So, but you made a short film called The Walk. So, tell us a little bit about the creative process of that. Was it quite a long process, or did it come quite quickly together?
It was quite a long process, but all the short films I've ever made do take years and years, to be honest. Like me and Sophie, sort of the writer, sort of started putting our heads together to sort of think about ideas for a film pre-pandemic, I think. And so like for a long time it was just sort of me and her on like working on it. We hadn't really sort of attracted the talent of anyone else by that point. But it was sort of 2021, 2022 when Anna Griffin, who produced the film, sort of came on board and sort of brought her team with her. And then luckily we got BFI network funding, which is sort of highly sought after film funding in the UK. It's like a sort of regional funding part. It's a big sort of like national aim to fund films that are made outside of London, basically, to sort of hear more regional voices and stuff like that, which was excellent. And it just meant that we could sort of bring on a Nottingham-based team, and sort of team full of really incredible young talent, which made all the difference, really. I think having people from the same place and sort of knowing the locations you're filming in it makes a huge difference. But yeah, no, it took quite a while, and it's kind of surreal, kind of being at this place and time with it. having it screening at festivals and stuff like that. It's very exciting.
I've got to ask, I mean, the film industry during the pre-pandemic was a completely different place back then. So do you feel like post-pandemic now that we've come out of COVID and all that, do you feel that the industry has changed?
I think certainly there's more of a emphasis on, you know, giving people a bit more time and space. I think obviously, like, something that not just the film industry experience, you know, I think all walks of life experience,
Yeah,
like
true.
when people had time off work, you know, if you weren't you know, someone that was needed to carry on working, I think a lot of people realize just how hard they've been working before the pandemic, and I think realize actually I could do with a bit more of this in life. So, you know, and the film industry hasn't gotten to that place just yet, but it's certainly moving towards it. I think people are really starting to appreciate their time outside of work a bit more, and so I think the value of time, and sort of, you know, yeah, time and space outside of
Sure.
work has really been taken on board.
I've got to ask, I mean, the film's called The Walk, and so, I mean, for our listeners, we aren't giving too much away. I know it's a short film, but if you can talk to me a little bit about the plot, we aren't giving too much away. Can you do that?
Of course, thank you. Yeah, so so it's called The Walk, and me and Sophie, the writer, kind of when putting our heads together, we're trying to look for topics that kind of interested us both. And Sophie came across an article in the Guardian newspaper about a village whose bus route was due to be cut to its nearest town, basically. And so the article sort of goes around interviewing people from the village, and sort of going, like, you know, figuring out what their life is going to be like after the bus route is cut. And so there's a lot of very alarmed people that suddenly don't know how they're going to be able to get to the nearest town, especially people that maybe can't access other forms of transport,
Sure.
or afford, you know, the £40 taxi fee. You know, it's a massive luxury. And so, and one of the people featured in the article was a man in his 50s who found out that he would have to walk a 24-mile round trip every time he signs on at the job centre every week for his mandatory meetings. And so we kind of, you know, we didn't that was the sort of the basis or the inspiration for the film. We weren't making it a film about that man in particular.
Sure.
It was more, we wanted to make a film about someone that had a similar predicament. But then we kind of also wanted to explore the fact that, you know, outside of this problem of not having transport and access to work, you know, how does that impact what might already be going on in someone's life? You know, someone might be dealing with grief already. Someone might be dealing with family problems. Like,
Sure.
you know, I think this is something that a lot of, when these reports come out on, you know, these sort of national service cuts and stuff like that, it's often presented in the form of statistics.
Yes.
You know, but it doesn't often go into and explore the sort of, you know, the day-to-day life of how these people are going to be affected, sort of thing. So in the film, The Walk, it's about the main character, Amar, and it's based on his walk back home from one of his meetings, basically. But all the pressures from his life sort of come to a head while on the walk. And sort of, so the film is kind of a bit of a character study, and a bit of an attempt to try and sort of see what it might feel and look like from the you know, the perspective of this character, basically.
And I mean, you mentioned it's in festivals right now. So if people want to be able to see the film, I mean, if there's for some reason they can't get to, like, the festivals, will it be released on like digital platforms eventually or would it be like a DVD release?
Well, yeah. So once the film festival circuit is done, it will be released online. But excitingly, we've just been nominated for Best Short Film at the BFI London Film Festival,
Oh, wow.
Which is really exciting. Yeah, it's like a massive jump for me in terms of this in regards to the success I've had with previous films. This is it's very exciting for me. But as part of that, the film can be watched and streamed on the BFI's streaming platform called BFI Player. So people will be able to watch it on there. But then, yeah, once the festival circuit is done with and over, a few months down the line, we'll be releasing it online, most likely on the video platform service Vimeo.
And I mean, to our listeners at home who want to work in the film industry, I mean, as a director or actor, what advice would you give to our listeners?
I'd say try not to do everything yourself. Like really try and sort of like pick up advice and learn from people that are ahead of you. I think that was something that was really lovely about the experience of making this film. I think arguably I was the least experienced on the whole thing, despite the fact that I was kind of leading it and directing it.
Right.
Anna Griffin, who's producing it, has produced feature films in the past. Like she has a film on Netflix, and Adil obviously is like a BAFTA winner. Sophie is a well-respected playwright, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people working on this that had more experience than I did. So I think instead of trying to get in the way of that and sort of prove that oh yeah, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. Actually, just sort of being humble and going, well, there's a lot that I could be learning from these people, and I'm going to try and do exactly that. So I think there is a lot of ego in the film industry, and I think it can really get in the way of people learning, really. So yeah, if anyone's aspiring to get into the film industry or like have a go at it themselves, I think just sort of look out for any sort of local filmmakers or any links that you can find, and just sort of see if you can help out on a set at one point, or like just sort of come down and sort of see how it works. I think there's a lot to be learned from people that have been doing it in the past already.
I mean, I've got to ask this as well. I mean, if it's all right with you, I mean, I want to ask about your journey. I mean, how difficult was it to break into the film industry?
Well, it's funny because I think there's no routes the same. I've not seen one director talk about their route and it be exactly the same as another director. It's all completely unique. It's quite a chaotic industry to break into in that regard. You do have to sort of figure out your own journey. Like for me, I did a filmmaking apprenticeship when I was 17. I did an internship, like a music video production company. I just tried lots of different things. I tried setting up a production company in my early 20s, just to sort of as an excuse to try and make as much stuff as possible. I can't really claim that I'm in the film industry in the sense of like working on big films. You know what I mean? All the films that I've ever made or worked on have been my own. And so, the route that I've picked is arguably going to take a lot longer. Whereas if you were to try and get experience on, bigger film productions, sort of trying to work on American studio film sort of things that maybe are shooting in the UK, like you can kind of, there's a bit more of a ladder.
Yeah, sure.
That you can climb to that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
yeah.
For me, it feels very much like I'm sort of got a machete and I'm hacking my way through the jungle a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, but my journey has been slow, but it feels like it's sort of picking up pace now, which is really, it's lovely to see. I'm really excited.
I mean, eventually, I mean, when you do make your own feature film, like like a big budget feature film, is there any genre that you would like to take, or is there a specific project that you would love to do as a film director?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I can't say that I'm particularly like a genre filmmaker in the sense of like horror or sci-fi.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I can't, I don't have like a sort of concrete genre that I'm attached to. It's I guess it's like more drama, and like sort of human stories sort of thing, you know, that I'm more interested in. So you know, like I'm the films that I write and direct are generally about, you know, people that are sort of maybe down on their luck or like don't have the sort of tools to really communicate how they're feeling, sort of thing. People that might normally go unnoticed. Those are the people that I really like to put in the center of my film, sort of thing. So yeah, they're often about sort of humans and their struggles, sort of thing. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that I want to make. So it will be quite original in hopefully.
And to our listeners at home, I mean, anybody, if anybody wants to follow you on social media, do you have like
Mm.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, I've got Instagram, which I find is the best for like, you know, visually sharing sort of my work and stuff like that and what I've been up to. And my tag is @_Michael Jobling. And you can find me on Instagram. I've been posting a lot lately about the walk being accepted into the London Film Festival and stuff like that. So hopefully, if we get into any more in the months to come, that's where you'll be able to get updates on the walk, and then hopefully, yeah, and on any future projects as well.
And my final question to you, Michael, is there anything that you would like to say to our audience?
In regard to like films and filmmaking and stuff, or
Anything really, whatever you feel like telling. So it's entirely up to
sure.
you.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, okay, like, you know, because I'm a teacher as well. I teach filmmaking as well, and I think I'm a real advocate for people like having a go. Do you know what I mean? I think people sort of think that filmmaking is, you know, for a certain type of person or from, you know, people that, you know, maybe have a leg up in life, which obviously it's easier for people that have that leg up to begin with, you know, have sort
Sure.
of a certain amount of privilege. But I think like um I think anyone can and should have a go at it. It's not for a certain type of person, filmmaking. I think you know, I think there's a big thing going on in the industry. You know, people are saying, "Oh, have we run out of stories to tell?" And you know, because we've seen a lot of them. There's been 100+ years of filmmaking now, and there's
Yeah.
been a lot of stories. But the thing that I kind of keep coming back to is like maybe we're running out of story types, but there's no shortage of perspective. You know,
Yeah.
in terms of films, I think there are so many people that should be telling their story, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be all superheroes and explosions and stuff like that. Obviously, if you like that kind of thing, that's great. But just because you don't feel your life is exciting enough or something like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be making a film about what you know. I think there's a massive audience for it.
Michael, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, mate.
No worries. Thank you so much, Chris.